to be able to do so. So this is where they should, people should look at it from that perspective. Are we being protected so that we could, if we had to, overthrow our government? So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Jan Ness tweets in, does Rand Paul think he lives in an episode of 24? Question mark. And Jim, Holder needs to revisit the Posse Comitatus statutes of the 1870s. Fish and Sam, one of our regulars, where are the liberals? If Bush did it, there would be marches in the street. Hashtag Code Pink, question mark. And Robert Lambert, do you not think this administration considers anyone that disagrees with them is a terrorist? I want to show you this picture in the New York Times. This is part of the funeral procession for Hugo Chavez down in Caracas, Venezuela. And in a related article is this picture of the new leader. Here's the new leader of Venezuela. Vice President Nicolas Maduro is his name. And finally, some editorials on the issue of Hugo Chavez. This is the Financial Times, and this is how they conclude their editorial. The headline is, After Chavez, a Chance for Progress. Chavez's death marks the end of an era, yet his very life represented the end of a retrograde period of Latin American history too, that of the populist caudillo, or strongman. Paradoxically, victimhood is often central to that narrative, the sense of a national redeemer fighting shadowy external forces. Craig is a Democrat in New York City.
Yeah, good morning, Pete. I'd like to say that I hope all the Democrats don't start jumping ship just because the present administration is using deadly lethal force. The government has been using deadly lethal force at the local, the state, and at the federal level. But there are rules for when you can use it. If even on your own personal behalf, if somebody is facing you with a gun, you're allowed to use deadly lethal force. If they turn their back and are running from you, no, you're out. That's out of the question then. But the government, with Waco, has been using deadly legal force on people. The mayor of Philadelphia dropped the bomb on these people to move. So it's not like it's anything that's new, but there are rules and regulations for when you can use deadly lethal force on people. So it shouldn't be, it just didn't just come up now.
All right, that's Greg. Thank you for calling in this morning. Amy tweets in, there are too many gray areas ripe for abuse, and this will just fuel the growing right-wing backlash against the government. Front page of the Arizona Republic newspaper this morning is this picture of former Representative Gabrielle Giffords with her husband, Mark Kelly. She returned to the site yesterday for the first time of the shooting in 2011 in Tucson. Dan in Georgetown, Massachusetts, Independent Line. Dan, go ahead with your comments.
Hi, thanks for having me on. This is quite bizarre. If we take a look at what's happened in our country over the last 12 years, since 19 hijackers armed with box cutters apparently took over our country, our government has come together. They've come together and seized the rights of American citizens. That's where they have come together. Just the other day, the FAA announced that box cutters are allowed on planes again. So, you know, they're we're saying it's okay to bring the same weapons on that took our entire country down, from 19 hijackers armed with box cutters, and now, you know, the Patriot Act, the Military Reauthorization Act, American rights have been taken away, and there has been a strong collaboration in Washington to do this. That's why we're at where we are. Now, it hasn't been done on the people's behalf. As an earlier caller in Alabama stated, there's something else going on. And yes, people, there is. It's called foreign banks, the central banks of the world yeah, this is coming down. They want to take arms away. They've taken our rights away. The president has the authority to kill Americans on American soil. I mean, people, it's time to wake up.
All right, Dan, that's Dan in Georgetown, Massachusetts. Not to make too fine a point on this, I did not see the box cutter issue mentioned, but I did see in the papers about small pocket knives. But again, I'm not making too fine a point about that issue. Very quickly, some more tweets on domestic drones. Vivian, what Rand Paul did was a filibuster for the way it was meant to be, instead of hiding behind a hold or just threatening to do it. Latanya says, I am all for the Congress initiating a policy against using drones inside the U.S. Someone else will be using them on us soon. Jack, Senator Paul's righteousness on drones was pure grandstanding. And finally, Monty, use of domestic drones is the first step towards creating a police state. Two members of Congress coming up this morning on the Washington Journal. Joaquin Castro, first termer from San Antonio, Texas, a Democrat. And after him, Tom McClintock, a third termer from California, Northern California, Republican. We'll be having a conversation about different congressional issues with them.